Hi, in this video, we're going to take a look at how to configure IPv4 standard numbered ACLs. All right, ACLs are configured in two simple steps. We create the ACL and we apply it to the interface. That's really basically it. We'll see whether, make the decision whether it's inbound, outbound on the interface, permit, deny statements, etc. When the best way to actually see all this is by examples, but let's go through some of the syntax first. So remember, a standard ACL can only test based on source IP address. Okay, so in a standard ACL, we're going to say access list and then give it an ACL number. And that number is going to be used throughout our access control lists. All right, it's a unique identifier. It identifies the ACL itself. You'll see how this works more in a moment. Like I said, the best way to look at this and figure it out is with examples. Whether or not it's a permit or a deny of a source IP address. Okay. And you can also do comments known as remarks. Okay. Also need to apply it to the interface. Okay, whether it's going to be inbound or outbound on the interface. Out is the default. Okay, so another thing to remember about ACLs is that there's an implied deny any everything at the end of the ACL, everything else is going to be denied. So an access control list like this that states access list 1 permit, and it's permitting, it looks like this 192.168.10.0/24 subnet from going out a specific interface. It's actually permitting it. Everything else is denied. It's like having a deny any at the very end. So those two access control lists would be identical. All right, so removing an ACL. Okay, so if we had an ACL list, if I wanted to remove that access control list, first of all, I can verify, yep, show access lists. I see it's an ACL with one statement. If I wanted to delete that entire ACL, I could say no access list 10, and that would delete the entire access list. Okay, the show access list is used to verify, to show us the access control lists. We'll take a look at that command in more detail in a later video. Okay, the remark is nothing more than a comment. Yeah. So we usually use that to document our ACLs, which is really important. It's a good idea to use the remark statement in your ACL. When you look at your running config, you know what it is that access list does. So usually we put them at the beginning of our access control lists. I know friends of mine that are network engineers and have access lists, literally thousands of lines of various ACLs, not just one access control list, but many access control lists, and altogether thousands of lines. Okay. We'll talk about the internal logic of this. This will make more sense as we do these things, but order matters, okay? Again, we are talking about standard numbered ACLs. So in this case, let's see, we say access list 3 deny, and we're denying a specific subnet. Okay, what if then I try and use the statement, but permit this host? Well, the problem is that this host 192.168.10.10 is part of this larger 192.168.10.0 subnet /24 that has been denied. So it's already been denied. It can't be permitted here. Okay, so order matters. And in this case, the iOS is smart enough to say, wait a minute, you can't do this. All right, because this address here is part of an existing rule that you've previously stated. Okay, and again, this will make more and more sense as you do ACLs. All right, another rule is the host statement can always be configured before a range statement. So if we really wanted to do this, we'd say, well, let's permit the host first. Permit that host first, okay, be specific first, okay, and then deny the range, the network. So that means this specific host will be permitted. Everything else in that subnet will be denied. Okay, a host statement can be configured after a range statement. So here we have the host statement following a range statement, but there's no conflict. We're denying the 192.168.10.0/24. There's our wildcard mask. And what we're permitting is 192.168.11.0. This is fine because this host address is not part of this subnet. So applying ACLs to interfaces. Okay, so we have our access control list. Then we go into the interface and we use the IP access group command to apply it to the interface, either inbound or outbound. And this is where we apply that ACL. And as we'll see, with numbered ACLs, we could have many statements, of course, and they will all contain ACL 1. That's a 1 there. Okay. We'll see some examples here. But let's just do some simple examples first. So here we want to permit a specific subnet. Okay. So in this case here, what we're doing is we want to permit this subnet to go out this interface. All right. So we say access list 1 permit this subnet. And on the interface serial 000, we're saying any of the access lists for ACL 1. Okay, apply this going before you send them outbound to serial 000. Okay, what if I wanted to deny a specific host and permit a specific subnet going out serial 000? Okay, so here I'm interface serial 000. I'm going to apply the access group going out serial 000, but I want to deny a specific host and permit a specific subnet. Okay, so first of all, do the host first. I want to deny 192.168.10.10. Deny that host. But I want to permit the rest of that subnet. Okay, so notice a few things. First of all, both of these are part of access list 1. So that's being applied here going out. Order matters. So the first thing that will be looked at is when the packet is about ready to be sent out serial 000 interface, it sees, oh, there's an access control list applied to this interface. So it's number ACL 1. So let's take a look. It will evaluate these statements in order. Deny any source IP packets with the source IP address 192.168.10.10. Okay. And if it's not that, then it will look at the second statement. Well, maybe it's a different IP address. Then it will look at this statement and permit anything else with the source IP address 192.168.10.anything. Okay. Now, in this case here, it will actually also deny anything from here. So let's think about this, right? It's denying this host, permitting this network, so that's okay. Why is this network being denied? You're right, because there's an implicit deny any. Everything else is denied. Well, how would we solve that? There's actually a couple of different ways. And as you do access control lists, you'll know that there's a couple of different ways a few different ways we can do many of our ACLs. But let's take a look how we can do this. Okay, what we can do is just add this ACL, instead of to serial 000, let's do it at G000. Okay, so let's take a look. ACL1, deny the host. So we're denying this specific host, permitting everything else. Now we could also say permit 192.168.10.0, but given that that's all the devices in this subnet, we can just say permit any. Okay. And that ACL is only being applied to this interface. So packets coming in on this interface, okay, this ACL does not apply to that, and they can be sent out serial 000, no problem. Okay, editing ACL. Sorry, this is a little fuzzy. Let me just mention, one of the best ways to write ACLs to begin with is to do it in a text editor. So I just use Notepad or something, and I write all my ACLs in. If I'm using a numbered ACL like I am here, and then I can just put them in the order I want and then copy and paste them in. What I do at my first statement actually is a no, whatever the access list is, access list 1, let's say. So I remove it first, and then my statements begin. So as I modify these statements here, it will first remove the current access list with that number and then apply the rest of the statements. Okay, so here what it's showing here is what if you configured it in the CLI. Okay, do a show running config, and we noticed, let's see, we're denying the host here, then we're permitting the address here, okay. And next we go into a text editor like I've done here. Okay, can type them in or copy and paste. And here we go, there's that no access list. So this would be my very first statement, okay. So we actually have a text editor that has no access list 1 and then shows this statement and this statement. Now, why did we do this? Because we actually are denying the wrong host here. We needed to change it to a 10. Okay. So what this does here is we copied this into a text editor, and then we changed in our text editor, we changed the 99 to a 10. All right, and then we just, in our text editor, we have no access list 1, so that removes the current one. And then with our current statements here, it has the correct host address, and then we just paste it in, and then everything's fine. Okay, so use a text editor. That's the best way to do it with numbered ACLs. And that's a little bit on configuring IPv4 standard numbered ACLs.